Sting says love is the seventh wave, and the ice pirates say Earth is the seventh planet. This is spoilers.
This is spoilers.
About the amount of laughs that one deserved. Hey, everybody.
What a great twist ending. What a great twist.
Yeah. It's like Planet of the Apes, but shittier. So today we're here to spoil the 1984 schlocky, not quite B-movie, but I'd call it a farce, quote-unquote classic, Ice Pirates, The Ice Pirates. Joining me today we have Josh from Goshen. What's up, Josh?
Hey, Pap, how you doing?
What did you think about The Ice Pirates?
Pretty bad movie.
Easy.
A farce, I think, is a good way to put it.
And with that easy, you have the one, the only, Stevie.
What's
How's
happening?
it going, Stevie? What'd you think about The Ice Pirates?
Before I get into that, I'm kind of bummed out, actually. I think I was complicit with racism today.
Oh, what happened?
I'm like super devastated about it because I didn't realize it until it arrived at my front door. Wife Lauren's
front door?
Yeah. Wife Lauren's friend is in from Indy. Remember, I was hungry and I was like, oh, I'll order a pizza. And I ordered pizza from Papa John's, and it didn't click in my brain until they arrived at my front door that I just gave money to that racist ass corporation. So kind of bummed about that.
No, but Papa's gone.
Still racist, man. Still racist.
Papa bless.
You know, Papa was released as CEO or whatever, but do you think he's like back in his original kitchen, just like back there flattening doughs and cheese and pizzas?
We'll start again.
Then I can blame black people for my shitty pizza. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
On the way out of his office, he stole like so many cups of garlic sauce, like in his pocket, as getting escorted out of the building. Fuck you guys. So, The Ice Pirates. This is a significantly more small and obscure movie than we usually spoil on spoilers. I guess to open things up, had you guys heard of it at all? And if not, like, what were your expectations sort of going into it?
I think the real question is, how did you hear of it?
And the other real question, is this a bigger or smaller movie than Parallel?
Ooh.
It's definitely bigger than Parallel because this made money, but like
Alex.
Gross, like not even net, like gross, like it actually produced some money. But
sorry, Alex Cooper.
I was listening to the critically acclaimed podcast with William Bibbiani, and he, like, in a completely side comment, mentioned this farcical Star Wars ripoff that came out in 1984, Ice Pirates. And like, I think the only thing he said about it was space herpes, and I was like, yep, that's going to be the next movie I pick. So, that was enough. I didn't know anything about it going into it. I guess I was a little bit pleasantly surprised with the references in it, but I mean, Josh, did you go into this blind?
I try to go in as blind as possible, but just IMDbing like the year and run length of the movie, I happened to see it had that good old 9% Rotten Tomatoes score, so that kind of was a big tip. Oh, well, also the title Ice Pirates. That coupled with a 9% score.
Is that much worse than Time Bandits?
Exactly.
Wait, that was supposed to be a good thing. I mean, the runtime is pretty short, though. You gotta admit that. 93 minutes?
That's like one of the best parts of it, is it's short.
What a huge influence on the pick, but I guess kind of like we alluded to, so Ice Pirates it came out in 1984, and it's essentially I would call it kind of like the scary movie of 80s and late 70s sci-fi.
Yeah, that's
it's like
fair.
You're getting references to like Alien, Mad Max, Star Wars in kind of this like jokey manner. Apparently the first draft of this was supposed to be a serious space drama, and it had a $20 million budget, but they slashed the budget to $8 million. And then they rewrote it as a comedy. So that's why we have the Space Pirates as we know it today.
I did not pick up on like I got the one-liners and stuff, but I still thought at least 2/3 of the way through the movie that this was like trying to be serious.
You did?
I did, yeah.
I think once I saw the alien taking a poop on the toilet, I was like, "Oh, this is supposed to be a joke." Like,
well, especially like when they did that, like,
take care of him.
yeah, when they did that Home Alone pass along. You take care of him. You take care of him. It's just
You take care of him. You take care of him.
kind of set the tone for the bad comedy that it was.
And interestingly, too, we're just kind of like getting into it. So the whole premise is it's very Mad Max, Fury Road.
Lots
premise.
of leather.
Stevie, I know it's your favorite movie, but it's also got the water is a finite resource and the most important resource in the galaxy.
That's what I was gonna
Makes
say.
no sense.
Like Miller must have watched this movie and been like, I can make a whole Mad Max movie out of this. I mean, it's the exact same premise.
What about The Last Jedi and the starship going into light speed and being tracked unknowingly?
I thought that too. They tracked us through light speed. Impossible.
I think this movie is more influential than people give it credit for.
I think that it didn't have the biggest theatrical run, but what I could see on research is it played very regularly on TV, believe it or not, and it carries a PG rating despite the sex scenes. But to move, I guess, further into the plot, yeah. So the ice pirates board the ship, try and steal a bunch of ice. You have a sleeping beauty princess, which is of course like kind of like the princess is supposed to be like Princess Leia, but this princess is a little bit more assertive,
A little more bosomy.
Yeah, so Mary Crosby plays Princess Karina, and Robert Urich plays Jason, who's our, I guess, what's that called? Swashbuckling ice pirate, space pirate.
Yeah, he's like a Han Solo / Poe Dameron
/ Bill Cosby checking out Passed Out Girls. Was that not off-putting though? Like at the beginning, he like lifts up
Totally.
her.
That was
dress,
super
look at her
creepy.
boob, her bag. Yeah.
That reminds me of in Boondock Scenes. Whoa, Boondock Scene. That also reminds me of in Boondock Saints. I don't know if you guys remember that scene.
The
in
cop
like,
lift
the
up?
stripper bar. No, it's like this. A stripper passed out because of like people were shot, and they like cops a feel on her. It's really creepy.
Oh, like in the strip thing.
Yeah, glass room.
Oh yeah.
And he like makes up for it. I shouldn't have touched that tit, and he like kills 20 people to like make up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he got interrupted trying to lift up, basically our Princess Leia of the story's like shirt, and like later on he's like looking up a girl's skirt that's like going up. And I would say another negative thing about him is that, spoiler, when he has a son at the end, he's basically like, that's a cool son, but not really my problem right now.
They go, yeah, do you want to hold him? He's like, no, I got other things to do.
So he's definitely kind of a douchebag, our protagonist, right?
Robert Urich again, Jason. But so he ends up kidnapping the princess, and they make off with a bunch of ice. And then the First Order, I don't know what you call them. The
La Resistance.
Yeah, they board the ship, and they imprison Jason, our main protagonist, and also Roscoe, who we haven't mentioned yet, played by Michael D. Roberts. I actually really like Roscoe's character. He's kind of, I don't know, I was worried this movie would be racist, but I think they actually portray him as the only like minority in a very positive light. What do you guys think?
You didn't think the black robot wasn't racist?
Okay,
And also dropping the N-word.
Well,
Execute one in the nigger. I met the black gentleman.
okay, in defense of the movie, the context in which the N-bomb is dropped, it's a bad guy drops it, and another bad guy looks
What's
at him
that
like,
robot-
hey, we don't do that.
What's that robot say when he's like, you want to pump some kitties?
Oh, the pimp robot?
Yeah, the pimp
Yeah.
robot.
I found that
Well, like
part
how-
to be racist too. Yeah.
Hey, Jackson. Hey, Bloods. Y'all want to pump some kitties?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, it's been a long time.
I had to turn on the closed caption because I thought he was saying titties. I could not tell he was saying kitties.
Yeah,
but
saying
he was
kitties.
saying kitties. But yeah, so they get thrown into space prison, and then there's a lot of like points in this movie where I don't know how like character gets from point A to point B. I know Ron Perlman eventually does get on the ship with the space pimp and uses that as transport, but he kind of disappears from this scene.
After he got his hand cut off, and it
He does get his hand cut off.
back.
Jedi or Empire reference.
Is his character gay?
But he's very effeminate.
That's what I kind of picked up too, especially like in the kitchen scenes where he was like describing what he was making and whatnot. I was like, oh, this character might be gay. I don't know if that's what they were going for or not. I just didn't know you guys thought of it.
He might be, yeah.
My interesting thing on him was he was the most recognizable actor. I mean, Angelica Houston's in this, and I don't think me or Stevie knew that was her until after the movie.
One thing
Did you, Stevie?
I kept looking at her going, she looks so familiar. And then I had like no idea that was Angelica. Yeah, I didn't realize it was her until we just pulled it up on IMDb.
And now it seems obvious. But
Yeah.
that was pretty weird.
Well, since we are kind of routing out those space pirate groups, I kind of liked her character because she's just kind of a badass. Like, she just happens to be a woman who is a badass warrior. Like, there really aren't any references to it, or they don't really like make a point of saying, "Oh, you're a tough girl" or something. Like, she just is a badass, which is kind of cool.
I agree. I think there's one chink in that armor when she was like kind of getting jealous of Princess and Jason's relationship. Did you catch that in the bar? I thought that was. I thought it'd been stronger if she was like, "Yeah, I don't give a crap about what he does," but she seemed like jealous.
In the cantina, like
Yeah, in the cantina scene.
One last part though I did like about Roscoe was when he's playing like Space Commander to like deflate the lasers on the ship. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, this is lasers coming in. He's like defeating them like on a video game.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I guess that was more than. Yeah, I can't say it was 2/3 of the movie. That's a pretty clear indication that they're just kind of going for it, and Jason's like right behind him, like patting him on the back, like exactly how a couple bros would be in the arcade in the 80s. It was pretty funny.
well, he's like, "Get him! Shoot here!" He's like, "Will you stop that?" But yeah, but again, to this movie's credit, it's like Jason's kind of like the dunce, and then Roscoe's like the smart guy, like deflecting the lasers. So I did like that, but then like the movie jumps to this castration machine that they go to, where they're gonna get their nuts cut off by these like giant pinchers, and the princess saves them in order to facilitate her quest, which kind of kicks off the second act to find her father. So I think that the gang kind of gets off this prison planet somehow. It's really not clear to me like where everybody is all of the time, but they eventually meet up again in that cantina that we were talking about.
Does their spaceship split into 3, and they kind of?
It's supposed to be a diversion,
back
I
up?
think.
But they always follow the right capsule or something. They always pick right out of 3. Again, like this movie's pretty bad. Like it's not trying to be good, and it's just supposed to. Oh, you're just jumping to here now. You're jumping from this scene to this scene.
Yeah.
But one character we didn't talk about is Killjoy. Stevie, what do we know Killjoy from?
Wait. First off,
The-
Sloth.
Yeah, Sloth. Yeah.
Sloth from Goonies. Hey, you guys! Yeah. He was actually a really famous football player to begin with, but yeah, that's Sloth, and he is hilarious in this movie.
What did you think about his character?
He reminded me of Van Damme's buddy in Bloodsport. What was that guy's
Ray
name?
Jackson.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well. Didn't this and Bloodsport come out in the same year?
84.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I think
Great year.
Yeah, I think that's the years they came out. Was that a thing in the 80s, Josh? Like, did you notice that growing up that like there'd always be like one giant like side character?
Like Princess Bride, Andre the Giant.
Yeah, was that a thing in the 80s?
They had Andre the Giant and Big Boss Man. I was pretty young in the 80s, so I don't really remember.
There were a couple though. I mean, what I do like what they do with his character though is that like he kind of like dances in and out of the plot in really clever ways. Like the first time we meet him is in jail, and he steals a necklace and trades it for some soup. And then like the guy he stole the necklace from is like, "Where's my necklace?" He's like, "I don't know. Maybe you should search everybody." Like totally like putting Roscoe on blast. And then he says something about like how monks are never castrated in case there's a god. And literally like, the next time you see Killjoy, he like had beat up the monk and taken his robe and was hiding. Then he pops up again at the party where the princess and the nanny and everyone makes their escape to go find the father.
When he gets dragged 10 miles by a motorcycle?
Exactly. Yeah.
And at that point, he is basically just in the gang from then on. They never have an official ceremony.
Right when he tries to
he's
jump on
in.
the motorcycle, he's in.
Just showed up. Oh, you're in the gang now.
Oh, you're here. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. So, moving on. In the
Edit
space
point? I don't know.
So the gang goes off to they land at the space cantina and they get word that oh Christ, what's that guy's name? He has the worst name. Lanky Nibs is also on that planet, and he might know where the princess's father has gotten to. Meanwhile, we cut back to the First Order. I really don't think this group's identified like what they are, but they're the big bad.
They're very 80s. Put it that way.
There's a scene with the Supreme Leader. Do you guys remember that? Where he's like in a ventilator thing?
And he's laying down.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck is that in this movie? Why? Is that just to get it to 90 minutes?
Let
I
me
don't know
feel
why
your
it's in there.
hand.
I think it was just world building. His the main luxury is like this greenhouse with plants, and so I think they're trying to show that like I don't know, water is so scarce, so no one would ever waste it on plants. But this guy is clearly like a badass. I don't know.
He's a badass. He looked like Jeff Dunham's old grumpy man puppet. That's what he looked like.
Okay, so he's maybe not a badass in the warrior sense, but he's a puppet master. How about that? And he's basically, he's like the emperor sort of character, except he's like weak, but he's lived a long time.
Didn't they kind of make a reference that like his mind was going to live on forever, but he loved having his body?
Something like that. Yeah, they wanted to unplug him. Like,
Yeah, it was really strange.
they're trying to Terry Schiavo him. Yeah.
Terry Schiavo.
I don't know.
Terry
But-
Schiavo was kind of alive.
Back on Tatooine, the gang finally found Lanky Nibs or whatever. And this is like literally at the hour point in the movie. There's only like 20 minutes of plot left to be had. But he has aged a bunch, and he says that was because he was in a time warp gone wrong.
Time warp got me.
Isn't Time Warp a song from Rocky Horror? Like, let's do the Time Warp. Okay. But yeah, so the Time Warp got him. And then they go to... What happens then? I don't even remember. Jason apparently slept with the frog lady to, like, use her land craft. And she's like, be careful. And the next time we see her, she's getting blown the fuck up by the Mad Max mutants.
Was this actually some good writing, though, when they meet this man who's aged to set up all of the end scene and the comedy therein? Like, at least that didn't come out of complete nowhere.
What do you think, Stevie? Is that good writing?
I thought so. I thought the last 20 minutes of the whole movie was brilliant writing. Especially because this scene kind of set it up.
Exactly, too. He's got like all the donkeys and like the piglets and stuff, which end up coming on their ship for somehow and some reason.
Very much like Swiss Family Robinson.
Like if they started the movie right there, I would have been happy.
But so Lanky Nibs, or whatever the fuck his name is, tells them to go to the Dagobah system, where they can find another guy who's going to be able to tell them where their dad is. So this guy is definitely I get a kind of an Immortan Joe vibe off him.
All right, girls. Let that be a lesson. I have a splitting headache. Would you happen to have a Tylenol?
You'll need more than a Tylenol if you don't tell me where my father is.
Would you say so, Stevie?
The guy who was on the
headless guy?
pretty much the that
Amazonian.
yeah, I would say so. With all like the glow chicks, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling surrounding him.
Yes.
All those
exactly.
bodybuilder chicks. I swear that girl on the throne next to him at least had a 12-pack. It was terrifying to look at. Like, nothing wrong with girls with muscles, but there's sometimes they overdo it, and that was the case. She was well done.
If they want to like redo the movie 300 with like an all-female cast or something, they could totally pull these chicks.
Those are the chicks
back from the 80s. Yeah.
Well, and like all of these like Amazonian women are riding Ridley Scott unicorns, but the unicorns are like super violent. Like they're like barreling their horns into people's guts and like killing them and shit. Like it's really bad. But they and then this might even be a Blade Runner reference. Honestly, they take him back to meet the father, and the father's like an android.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't like my father. This is like an android. And then somehow they find. Oh wait, no, he tortures a Morton Joe guy with like a feather right under his nose.
Yeah,
or
he tickles
something.
him to like do like a constant sneeze.
And that. So then they take them all back on the ship. And now there's like literally like only like 15 minutes of the whole movie left. The guy gives them, or a Morton Joe gives them a ring, which serves as a transmitter, and they find a message from the real dad, who gives the ice pirates the exact coordinates of the 7th planet, which contains all the water left in the galaxy, pretty much. Is that?
And we talked about how that's a
Is that
huge
right?
reveal,
Yeah.
and that's like a Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
thing. But like, it was so obvious in this. And earlier they're like, they have clouds that go up and rain down liquid water. So, Pappy, if I may interject here, 2 quick questions. If they've never seen the 7th planet or rain clouds, how come in that sex scene there's like a bunch of projections of clearly Earth and rain clouds, and it starts raining liquid water on them?
Passion Storm.
Yeah, I mean, you totally read my mind in like the next scene that they have this passion storm thing. I don't know how that was made, but it's apparently like very moody, and like that's what people get it onto in the future. It's just a huge tsunami of rain.
That scene was dope.
I loved it. You're stiff. I mean, your belt is stiff.
And she makes a comment about like him looking at her body, and he's like, I've been looking at that for the past 4 billion miles.
That's a lot of body to rub.
How would you know?
I've been observing it for the past 4 billion miles.
For the past 4 billion miles. And like the ship like bumps a little bit. She's like, oh, is that you?
And I love the part where, for a PG movie, this gets hilariously graphic, because I started busting up laughing when they were getting it on and the rain was coming down. She's like, shouldn't you be at the controls? And he starts to like move his head like down towards her, you know. I just thought that was hilarious.
And like cuts to a shot of like waves
Yeah.
crashing on a beach to imply like, hey, you know.
Well, and this is all set up by a joke where when he comes to the door looking for her, he can hear her in the inside going, oh yeah, more, stronger, faster, do that more.
Oh, yeah, a little harder. Oh, that's perfect. Don't stop. Oh, yeah, a little. Oh, don't stop. Who is it?
And like, he opens the door and it's a robot that had just given her a massage.
Yeah.
As far as we know, that's all he was doing. But this is the
Fair
future. Who knows what they've developed? But
Very liberal.
so like basically right after that sex scene, the sirens start going off, and Jason, our protagonist, like runs out like basically in his underwear, like shirt unbuttoned, like what's going on? And the First Order, the Templars, I guess they're called. I have it here in my notes. The Templars. I don't think we've mentioned this yet either. That this is sci-fi kind of crossed with a swords and sandals type theme. Like
This is the worst part of the movie.
their swords are literally swords and battle axes and sabers, and the Templar wear chainmail armor. And what I can only assume was costuming that was laying around the MGM lot, and they just like picked it up and like, all right, well, we have our budget got halved.
We got Mithril.
Josh, why does this bother you so much?
The only thing worse than this like mashup of styles and a complete miss, in my opinion, was the robot battles themselves. The robots, I don't think Pappy has described them yet.
No.
They're just like big, blocky humanoid, super slow. And every time there's a battle, and there's like 20 of them in this movie, it's just robots walking super slowly towards each other. It doesn't make any sense at all, and it bothered me so much. I didn't think it was that funny or entertaining. The swords are all bendy because they're all fake. Like, there's no effort to make the fight scenes look fun or interesting.
They
I don't
were
think.
hard to watch. It was just so clunky and just a clusterfuck. And there tried to be comedic moments thrown in there that never hit. So I totally agree with Josh.
Yeah, if I had to guess, those robot costumes probably only allow for like 90 degrees of lateral movement for each of your joints, because that's the way they like move. It's like very like super slowly, like. And then this movie also, I don't know if it's part of the farcical humor or not, but they have a complete lack of respect for these robots. Like Jason, our main protagonist, literally murders one, and then the other two get scared and like straighten up. Like he pushes one off a cliff.
You, come on. You see down there?
And then there's like a little from WALL-E. It kind of looks like the little bot that like sweeps. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's one of those guys. He's got like a Chevrolet like logo in the middle of his face for like a mouth. Like they probably just, like took that off a car. But at one point, like it has like a baby, and then like the mom dies, and like the baby robot's going, "Mommy, mommy!" Like when the mommy's like just exploded in a bunch of pieces. Like this movie is fucking cruel, dude. Like it does not give a fuck.
The robots are pretty bad too. Like, this actually made me appreciate Star Wars, like A New Hope and Empire, because those were done before this, and these, specifically that one droid that's like straight up R2-D2, it's like head turns around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just puts a sheet over its head, and it just like can't
But it
figure out
looks
what's
so
going on.
shitty. It's like it's got like an eggshell head, and I swear to God, they just pulled off a Chevrolet thing from a car and stuck it on its face. That's like its mouth. Like, and that was their like production design budget.
What about the trash can one? He like feeds it a piece of trash. It has a tongue.
Dude, that was like a fucking Chuck E. Cheese band member in
They just pulled him from the local Chuck E.
That's what it looked like. It couldn't have cost more than $20 for someone to make, but this movie did the best it could, I guess. I do want to spend the last 5 or 10 minutes of plot discussion here, really keying on the very last act and like the last sort of sequence, which I mean honestly, this kind of like made the movie for
so
me.
cool.
I'm embarrassed to say. So the Templars crash aboard the ship. Josh, you kind of want to describe what's happening from an editorial perspective, and also like a little like editing perspective, like how it's communicated. It's very theory of relativity-esque, but complete bullshit. You could say.
Yeah, so they set up this theory earlier that if you're in warp speed, time passes quickly, and
It's like as you, the observer, time passes quickly. It's not like relative to the outside. It's like your life speeds up. You age faster. Yeah.
So not only are people like growing beards, and our princess gets pregnant and has a kid, but also they do this editing technique, and I think this is what Pappy wanted me to point out, is that it like suddenly goes to like 300% speed, and people just like kind of hop forward and it's really jarring and jilted. And so I guess it's like the warp speed affecting him, but it doesn't make any sense at all. And
It makes no sense.
we don't mention like our jobs much on the pod, but I am a video editor, and even just like the technique that they use to get in and out of the sped up, like they weren't ramped at all and smooth, so it was like seriously very jarring. It was just like Brit, Brit, Brit.
And it's like also implying that this effect is somehow happening intermittently. Like all of a sudden you're regular, then like the next 5 seconds of your life speeds up. And like, I think they say at one point that every second equals a day or something to that ratio.
Oh yeah, they gave some bullshit ratio that probably doesn't make sense.
I love how everyone grew wizard beards down to their dicks. Like that was the beard
And
style they had to work with.
Roscoe grew the biggest afro I've ever seen.
That was the best part because he already had a big one. Then he goes in the next room and it's absurdly large.
It's literally like, I'm trying to think of like a reference. It's like a semi-truck tire big at least. Like
that's what I lost it watching it.
I was really hated this movie, and finally this scene made me laugh out loud. And my only note I actually wrote was like the one line that made me bust up laughing, and it was after that NFL player that we were describing earlier. What's his name?
Sloth.
Killjoy in the movie.
Yeah, after Killjoy, when he like gets stabbed and he's like his death scene, and he's like an old man because all this time has passed.
I cut him to pieces 10 minutes ago.
I ought to cut him to pieces 10 minutes ago.
Dude,
like he's an old... like, yeah.
Dude, the part that made me lose it is like, so Jason's impregnated the princess, and like she has her pregnancy, like she comes full term, the baby's like running around at some point, like, and the baby runs out, and the princess goes, "Don't disturb Nana," and she opens the door, and the Nana character is just like a pile of bones and dust. Like, because she was already old, so she was like literally a Skeletor at this point.
The other part I lost it too is when, well, there's kind of this. The only time I've ever heard this, and I didn't know if this is a reference intentionally from Seth MacFarlane, but there's a pirate episode in Family Guy, and before Peter does anything, he always goes, "Ha ha!" And Jason like did that throughout this entire movie. And it's kind of the all is lost moment on the ship, and everybody's like dying from old age, and the young boy has grown up into like what Jason's age was when this movie started, and he goes, "Father, I will
played
save
by Robert
you."
Urich.
Ha-ha!
Yeah, it's the same guy.
It's
It's the same
guy.
actor.
I guess this is it. Here I come, Dad! Let's go!
Jason, it's him. It's him. That's our baby.
That is him.
Isn't he beautiful?
Mom, Dad, we won! He's a chip off the old block.
To play the son. And then earlier in the movie, like Jason's like, "That doesn't look like me. It's not my baby." It's like literally grows up to be the same person. I don't know. I mean, there is something to be said though, like, because when I think of like classic like Mel Brooks Spaceballs, which is a far superior film to this, don't get me wrong, but like Blazing Saddles, any like farcical satirical romp, there's kind of like this like escalation that kind of naturally has to happen where things are getting more ridiculous and more ridiculous and more ridiculous. And so it's like in Blazing Saddles, like that music number at the end is like the last 5 minutes of this movie are just batshit crazy. Like all logic, any grounding that this film had is completely out the window. Like it's just going crazy.
Well, and then you asked me to talk about the editing. They go back from like this sad all is lost ending that Stevie mentioned to like we're okay, and it's basically done through this edit where I don't know if you guys have ever seen Easy Rider, but it just starts like showing a frame of them back in the ship all fine, and then it keeps doing that intermittently, and it's like really jarring cut, and then it's like oh, we're back. What did you think about that explanation?
And everybody's
Pappy?
had the same experience.
Yeah, and everyone's just fine. And then like the whole bad guys were off by a degree, so they're lost in space forever.
But that alternate reality did somewhat happen? Like they shared that experience or something?
Well, and the Nana is like literally resurrected from the dead. She went from being a pile of bones and ash to a human. Like that baby is unborn and goes back into the princess's womb to come to term eventually, I guess. But like that whole crazy sequence we just described is like 5 minutes of film. It happens so quickly, and then
Which
the movie
sucks.
just ends. And then the movie just ends.
It's like the most superior part of the film, though. It's the best part.
They see Earth. They're like, we made it to the 7th planet. That's all the water we'll ever need. Boys, we're retired. I can't wait to see my dad. Roll credits. It's just the fucking end. Like,
Yeah,
like
still
they
from the
ran out of film.
atmosphere. They haven't even entered like Earth's atmosphere yet. They just see it at a distance and they're fine.
Which, and then they like made sure you knew it was Earth too. Like they had like Africa facing north-south, like right in the middle of the fucking frame. Like you have to be so obtuse. Yeah,
Get it?
yeah. You get it? All right. So any final thoughts on The Ice Pirates 1984 before we go yes or no? Okay then.
Well, I guess I'll say this. Outside of Ron Perlman, like, did anybody's careers really take off from this movie? Or, like, is he, like, the only one to survive this movie?
Angelica Houston.
Yeah. That's true. And she was a pretty,
But
like,
that's about
she
it.
had a main role. But whatever happened to the princess, Mary Crosby chick?
She had a run on Dallas for, like, it looks like about 100 episodes.
Jesus.
So I mean that's like
5 seasons.
But that's like half of Dallas though. Dallas ran for like 350.
Yeah.
So
And the
I
main
think that was-
protagonist, Robert
Yeah.
Urich, this is his second most known for on IMDb,
Oh,
Ice
no.
Pirates. And his first known for is Lonesome Dove, which I was joking would be a great penalty movie for someone. It's known to be like one of the most long, boring movies of all time, I think.
Well, Mary Crosby, her most known for is Ice Pirates. Good for her.
dude, that's a very common theme. Looking through these people, it's a lot of people's top thing is
Ice Pirates.
It's kind of sad in a way, but I mean, I'll go ahead and give mine.
They're all connected.
So I'll go ahead and give my yes or no. I saw this YouTuber. His name's Jello Apocalypse, and I think I might rip off his rating scale for the rest of my life because it's so perfect. But he has a parabola, so it's like a big U-shaped graph, and then like on the far right is like a positive 10, on the far left is a negative 10. Then he has a line in the middle across like the absolute value of 6, and he's saying that any movie that's better than a 6 is worth watching. And any movie that's worse than a negative 6 is worth watching because it's so bad. And like, you know, you have The Room on the far left, and you have like, you know, The Godfather on the far right. But like, this movie is
Legend on the far left.
Hey,
yeah, this movie is a great far left, so bad it's good movie for me. I think like a really good analogy is it's the scary movie of sci-fi of the late 70s and 80s, which are like my favorite films anyway. But you have like the references to Star Wars, references to Alien, where like the little space... We didn't even talk about the space herpy. The space herpy
that was so
pops
gross.
out of the turkey.
Oh, darn.
The ship has herpes.
Yeah.
Oh no. What is space herpy?
You mentioned it at the beginning.
That's enough. Yeah, we gave it enough love. But yeah, so yeah, the space herpy pops out of the turkey just like the facehugger in Alien. The bounty hunters on Tatooine or whatever it's called look just like Mad Max. Like at the party, the people are doing a drug, which is essentially like the fizzy lifting drinks in Willy Wonka. You know what I mean? And I swear to God, the gophers on Tatooine were the same gophers from Caddyshack.
They just found him on the lot.
Or at least like yeah, some like,
Throw 'em
updated
in.
version. Yeah, we got him. But I'll give it a very soft yes. You know, with the caveat of it's so bad it's good. I was not bored by this at all. I was very entertained, but just keep in mind it's a bad movie. Let's go to Josh next. Josh, what'd you think?
This is a pretty confusing movie to me because I just couldn't figure out how Pappy had ever heard of this and why he chose it. And so we've always talked about expectations on this pod going into a movie. Mine is just kind of like with some anger. We've had some shit going on behind the scenes with spoilers and
I love it.
I'm like, what is this crap movie I have to watch? But that final scene where they just start aging, that combined with how fun it was to talk about this movie afterwards, and that I hope like some point I'm at a bar having a drink and I happen to get in a random like conversation about this movie. Like that would be so fun.
Like someone across the bar says, "Oh, like Ice Pirates." You're like, "What?"
And no one in the bar gets it but me because no one's heard of this shit movie before.
Did we just become best friends?
So I'm gonna give this like it's like a micro penis. Yes.
Wow. Never thought I'd see the day Josh gave this a yes.
And it doesn't hurt that Legend is kind of similar to this, and I gave this that a no. Because I think this movie is just so much more fun than Legend, where Legend is boring. And also, like, I just gave Last Jedi a no, so I like giving movies yeses more than ever right now.
Well, Stevie, it's up to you.
Speaking of Legend, anyone listening, don't listen to Josh. Legend is a great movie that is a lot of fun to watch, and it's not boring. But
Middle Tooth.
This is along the same lines of Legend, where it's just like, who greenlit this? Who read this and said, yeah, this is the one?
Well, someone did, and then someone else said, no, we're cutting this budget in half.
It's like it's like the boss's nephew worked on the studio, and he's like, we're greenlighting this, and then he went to the boss, like found out, and he's like, he did what? And they
this could be my Star Wars.
Yeah, he tried.
Ouch.
Not poor Max. Fuck him. But it's very satirical. The last 20 minutes make the movie, which is good because it doesn't end on a downer note. This is not a soft yes, or this is just a yes. This is one of those movies where, like, if it's on TV, I'm not gonna turn it off, and I'm gonna tell everyone who's in the same house as me or whatever to come watch this. But I'm not gonna seek it out for just to seek it out.
This is a great, like, everyone's drinking beers, like, you have a movie on in the background. Like, this is a great party movie. I don't know if you want to sit down on a Saturday afternoon sober and even commit 90
or
minutes
hungover.
But
yeah, if you have a friend coming from out of town and you're like, oh man, like while you're here, let's watch this badass movie. They're gonna be pretty pissed if you put this one on. This is my softest yes I've ever given. Let me just put that on record. That's my most neutral yes ever.
But it is still 3 yeses, so for better or worse, Ice Pirates goes down in spoilers lore as forever preserved. Ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah.
So for trivia today, it's kind of a lazy trivia. Should go pretty quick. Who's hosted more recently between you two?
I think Josh.
Josh? No, Stevie did the gray.
Disagree. It's been a bit.
I think Stevie's more recently since the gray. So
that feels so long ago.
It does. Because I said winter is upon us. There wasn't even snow on the ground when I hosted the gray.
And now it's full-fledged Ice Pirates winter.
Yeah.
But, so, this is kind of like an old school game. Let's go closest to. So, Stevie will set the pin, and then Josh will have to go essentially over-under because it really won't matter otherwise, right? So, Stevie will guess a number, then Josh will say over-under, and then if Josh is right, he wins. If Josh is wrong, Stevie wins. So the question.
It's not animal weight, is it?
Dude, Lauren still talks about that.
Close. The biggest
Good for
wolf
her.
of all time. In November 2017, the Arctic sea ice extent. So basically the surface area of the North Pole, it's covered in ice, was the 3rd lowest on record it's ever been. Hashtag global warming. How many square miles were covered in ice by the North Pole? Closest to.
Fuck.
In November 2017. This was the lowest on record. My source didn't specify if this was for like on average. I would assume like for this point at the time of the year. Like so for November, this is the lowest I've ever seen, or third lowest I've ever seen. How many square miles were covered in ice around the North Pole? So Stevie, you'll have to set the pin, and then Josh will have to say essentially over under from that. Number of square miles.
Wow.
Covered in ice?
Covered in ice by the North Pole ice, or sorry, the Arctic Sea ice extent is the scientific name, but it's the North Pole ice cap.
I have no way of not sounding stupid on this. I have like.
You're right, but Josh has a 50-50 chance of sounding more
God
stupid.
Damn it. A square mileage?
50-50 chance. CC.
Oh, because ice pirates.
Pap, I'm gonna hijack that sound. Fuck me. I don't know square mileage worth anything. I'll say 3.5 mil.
All right, Josh.
I'm gonna go with under, Alex.
That was honestly pretty crazy. So, global warming is real. The lowest square miles ever recorded in November was recorded last November, November 2017, and there were 3.65 million square miles covered in ice by the Arctic Sea ice extent. Jesus Christ, Stevie.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you were within 1/10 of a mile, or wait, 100,000 miles.
That's awesome.
You're within 100,000 miles. That's amazing.
Oh, that's
So we'll give
awesome.
So if this is your first episode of Spoilers, since Stevie won trivia, he has a chance to think about what movie he'll host next, and he'll there's accusations of cheating. Accusations of cheating have been levied in the group thread.
What?
We'll sort this out.
Cheating?
If the call stands, Steve will be the host next week and get to pick the movie. If not, I don't know. I don't even know what will happen. This is unprecedented. Spoiler man, help us out of this situation.
Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes. Please don't forget to leave us a review by searching for movie spoilers, clicking on the cereal bowl, select the reviews tab, and leave us some stars and some words.
All right, so we're back. After a judge's ruling, after we looked at the records, Stevie's guess was determined to be clean.
Thank you.
So we're going to give him the win.
Like a gentleman.
Stevie, do you have a movie for us to review next week?
Yeah. Have we done a Stallone movie yet? That's all I want to know.
It's a leading question.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, the writer...
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but...
Okay, that's fair enough. But this is a 90s, my favorite decade of film ever. And we're going to go with the cold classic Cliffhanger. So pumped.
Well, there you have it. Look forward to that. Should be the next episode on your dial, potentially. And,
yeah, can I just say, Pappy, I feel like
Please.
if people want to watch and really engage with us, they should watch that movie this week. And, you know, we'll have that app out in a week. And you can hang in right with us and call in, maybe. We love it when people call in.
You know, yeah, honestly, if you watch it, if you call in, leave an email, if you do anything for Cliffhanger, we'll send you a t-shirt or something. We'll figure that out. But if you made it this far, that's a free t-shirt, and that was... Spoilers.
Pap, do the scream.
I don't remember what it was.
That was Spoilers.
So I feel like you said global warming is real, but at the same time, you're like, don't worry, guys. There's still 3.5
Hey, don't
million
worry.
square miles of ice.
There's some ice for the whole galaxy up there for us.
Just lay back. We're on vacation.
Could use a little bit. What was that Trump tweet? It was
Oh my
could use a
god,
little bit
he's
of
such a
global
fucking
warming.
idiot.
That pissed me off so much. Guess we could use a little bit of old global warming, huh?
That we
Right.
have to pay trillions for.
You think like Wayne Myers